The Invisible Boy by Trudy Ludwig is a beautifully simple yet profound story that touches the heart in ways words alone cannot. It follows the journey of Brian, a young boy who feels invisible to those around him. While the title might suggest a tale of fantasy, the story is firmly rooted in the very real, everyday struggles of childhood, especially the struggle to fit in, to be noticed, and to be seen for who you truly are. This story isn't just for kids. It's a gentle reminder for adults too, about the importance of kindness, empathy, and inclusion. It speaks to the power of human connection, showing how one small act of kindness can change everything for someone who feels overlooked. Brian's world, the boy who fades into the background. From the very beginning of the book, Trudy Ludwig paints a vivid picture of Brian's loneliness. Brian isn't the class clown or the most outspoken kid. He isn't the first to raise his hand in class or the most athletic on the playground. And that's exactly the problem. Brian is the kid who gets chosen last for teams, the one who eats lunch alone, and the one who simply fades into the background. In every classroom, there's usually one child who doesn't seem to stand out, and in Brian's case, that child is him. He's quiet, introverted, and while there's nothing wrong with him, he doesn't quite fit into the social fabric of his class. What makes Ludwig's portrayal so powerful is how she captures the emotional weight of this invisibility. It's not the sort of invisibility where Brian can disappear into thin air, but rather, it's the emotional weight of being ignored, dismissed, and excluded. There's a sadness in the way Brian goes about his day, not because he's lacking in personality or potential, but simply because no one notices him. He's like a shadow in a crowd, seen but unseen at the same time. As much as the story is about Brian's isolation, it's also about something larger. How children often feel the sting of being left out and how these feelings can shape their self-worth. It's a universal experience that's captured so gently in the pages of this book. Through Brian's quiet existence, we can all reflect on the times when we, too, might have felt like we were invisible to those around us. The turning point, a new friend who sees Brian. Then, as in all stories of transformation, something wonderful happens. A new kid named Justin joins Brian's class. Justin is different. He's a refugee who has recently moved to the area and is adjusting to a new country, a new culture, and a new language. And just like Brian, Justin feels out of place. However, unlike the other kids who don't seem to notice Brian, Justin notices him right away. He sees Brian for who he truly is. In this seemingly small act of kindness, something huge happens. Justin doesn't make a big fuss over Brian's situation, nor does he draw attention to it. He simply chooses to sit with Brian, to talk to him, to include him. And that's all it takes to start changing Brian's world. In the blink of an eye, Brian is no longer invisible. He's not just seen. He's heard, valued, and understood. This part of the story serves as the heart of the book. It's the moment where kindness becomes the agent of change. Through Justin's gentle actions, Brian's life takes on color and warmth. He's no longer alone, and he no longer feels like an outsider. Justin's empathy and openness break the invisible wall that Brian had built around himself. What makes this moment so powerful is the simplicity of it. Justin doesn't do anything extraordinary. He just includes Brian in the simplest of ways. And that's the real magic of the story. It's a reminder that sometimes, all it takes to make someone feel seen is a small, thoughtful act of kindness. The way Justin reaches out to Brian doesn't require a grand gesture, but it changes everything for Brian. The ripple effect, kindness spreads. But the invisible boy doesn't stop there. The beauty of the story continues as Brian, having experienced the kindness of Justin, starts to look around him and see the other kids who might be feeling just as invisible as he once did. As Brian gains confidence through his friendship with Justin, he reaches out to others, showing that the kindness he received has transformed him into someone who is now capable of transforming others. This ripple effect of kindness is one of the most powerful themes in the book. Ludwig doesn't just show how one person's kindness can change a life. She shows how it can change an entire social ecosystem. Brian, once isolated, becomes an agent of change. His kindness and empathy are now being passed on to others who are also marginalized, and he becomes part of a larger circle of inclusion. This subtle yet profound message is one of the highlights of the book. The story teaches us that kindness is contagious. When we take the time to notice those who feel left out or excluded, we create an environment where everyone feels welcome. In Brian's case, it's the simple act of noticing someone who isn't often noticed that changes the classroom dynamic for the better. And that's a lesson we can all take to heart: the importance of seeing others. At its core, The Invisible Boy is about the importance of seeing others, not just in a physical sense, but in an emotional and social sense as well. Ludwig makes it clear that in a world where we often rush past each other, it's easy to overlook the quiet ones, the ones who don't shout for attention, and the ones who don't fit the typical mold of popularity. But it's precisely these individuals who need our attention the most. The book is a reminder that everyone has a story, even those who seem to fade into the background. In a school setting, there are always kids like Brian, quiet, introspective, and seemingly invisible, but every one of these children deserves to be seen, to be noticed, and to be valued. The Invisible Boy encourages young readers to take the time to recognize the people around them, especially those who may be feeling left out or unnoticed. Illustrations and writing style, a perfect pair. One of the most charming aspects of The Invisible Boy is the way Trudy Ludwig's words are paired with Patrice Barton's illustrations. The art in this book perfectly complements the story, with its soft, warm tones that help convey the emotional landscape of the characters. The illustrations of Brian, especially in the earlier pages, do an excellent job of showing just how invisible he feels. And when Brian starts to connect with Justin, the illustrations reflect the new light in Brian's life: bright, colorful, and filled with promise. Ludwig's writing style is simple, direct, and deeply empathetic. It's not the kind of story that requires heavy words or complex sentences. The beauty of it lies in its simplicity. Ludwig knows how to express big emotions with small gestures, and she uses just the right amount of detail to create a picture of the world without overwhelming the reader. Her writing is accessible, allowing even young children to understand and relate to the emotions of the characters. Final thoughts: a timeless message of kindness. The Invisible Boy is more than just a children's book. It's a reminder for us all about the power of kindness and the importance of inclusion. It shows us that sometimes the smallest gestures can have the biggest impact. In a world where it's easy to overlook the quiet ones, this book encourages us to notice them, to reach out, and to make them feel seen. Through Brian's story, we learn that when we choose to notice the invisible ones, we give them the chance to become visible, not just in our eyes, but in their own as well. Ludwig's story is one of hope, of transformation, and of the profound impact that a little kindness can have. It's a book that not only resonates with children, but also speaks to adults about the importance of creating an inclusive world where everyone feels valued. If you've ever felt invisible, or if you've ever wished you could make a difference in someone's life, The Invisible Boy is a reminder that we all have the power to change lives, one kind act at a time. Stay tuned for more enlightening content. Head over to www.mybooksummary.com. Don't forget to subscribe and share the magic with friends. And let's grow together through the power of books and interesting stories.